Hey everyone, welcome to The Grind. We are starting a new series where we're studying the book of Hebrews. And actually someone once told me that Hebrews was like, you can split like the New Testament into primary like education and secondary school education, and Hebrews to fall into secondary school education. Basically, it's a little bit harder to understand, but it's also often known as the fifth gospel in the New Testament and describing what Jesus is doing in heaven. The basic quick premise is that it was written to immature Jewish believers who were wavering in their faith. Very much like us in certain cases where we are also sometimes can be immature and waver in our faith as well. Let's be real, we've had moments like that. So let's just start with icebreaker questions we normally do. Has there been something you've drifted from that you wish you hadn't?
As an extrovert, I feel obliged to say certain friendships.
I see.
But
were they good for you? Were they good for you though, those friends?
That's why I say certain.
Oh, okay.
I could also say a good sleeping habit.
Did you ever have one?
It hurts to laugh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, as an introvert, I would say sometimes I miss the quiet self I've drifted away from because I need to functionally extrovert.
Be a functional extrovert,
Yeah.
yes. That's true. Well, I would say I think something I drifted away from would be taking photos, street photography. I think I used to be really dedicated to that. Bought everything, was like part of like a crew that went around, took photos in Hong Kong. And I think there was one time I dedicated, me and like two other friends just basically went on a night walk.
200?
No, me and two other friends. Not 200.
Two other.
Not 200 friends.
200. Like, what is that?
Paparazzi!
No, two other friends. We went on a night walk in Hong Kong just to take photos. And it was very interesting to do that because it's seeing Hong Kong operate at night, like the newspapers coming in at like 3 a.m. And so on. So yeah, I think that's something that I wish I didn't drift away from. I mean, I still take photos from time to time, but not like as dedicated as I was before. Anyways, so going back to like Hebrews, we want to talk about how Jesus is the final word, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is like for the Hebrews, no one knows who the author was. It's not clear, it's not set. And basically, like I mentioned, like it's writing to the Jewish believers who were wavering in their faith, who were tempted to drift away in their faith. And so I think, and basically there's the emphasis on Jesus being, the better, the series is called Better, right? So it's being like that, the better high priest, the better substitute, the better sacrifice. So why is it significant to understand that Jesus Christ is God himself, the radiance of God's glory and exact representation of his being?
I think it's like for credibility, I assume. Mm-hmm. Like, it's to help confirm the message, I believe. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, like, when we just had black rain, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, when my friend said it's going to be, like, black rain till 3 p.m., I was like, let me check HKO, just confirm it. I think that sense of, like, just being very sure and making it very, like how do you say?
Clear.
Yeah. Officially clear, yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on like where your friend got the information from. That'll be
True.
until 3 p.m. Because if they got it from HKO, then
perhaps, but they didn't say that.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to me, so that we can know the source of salvation.
Yeah.
Because to my understanding, atonement, salvation cannot happen with a flawed sacrifice. For us human beings, we have flaws, and back in the day, your sacrifice like the lambs, you cannot have spots, you cannot have like broken legs. So if Jesus was just a man who sort of transcended the flawedness, transcended his weakness, then it's not possible to do the atonement. But because he is God himself, he is righteousness, so like his righteousness can be ours.
Yeah. Like in Hebrews 1 to chapter 1 verse 3, it says, he is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of his nature, and he upholds the universe by the power of his word. Well, after making purification for sins, he sat down on the right hand of majesty on high, having become as much superior to angels as the name he has inherited is more excellent than theirs. I think I like what Pastor Red used example of, like, you know, the messenger being basically will tell you how important the message is. Like, for example, if a regular postman comes, it's okay, right? But if it's like DHL or FedEx bringing you something, you know that that's important, that's high priority. So likewise, it's not just some angel coming to tell you about, you know, the word. It's basically Jesus, the exact imprint of who God is coming, basically showing you that whatever he says is super important. God's not like, you know, sending some, like, you know, Tom, Dick, or Harry to come. It's Jesus, the exact, like, representation of his being the radiance of God's glory. So yeah, I think it's just important to understand that this is no mere being. So all right, now if you look at, actually, let's take a look at Hebrews chapter 2 verse 1, right? It says, therefore we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it. And so basically there is the significance of the word therefore. All right, so Hebrews chapter 2 verse 1 says, therefore we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it. So therefore is basically like a command, in a sense, I guess a connective verb. It's like, all right, we got to pay attention to what we heard. If not, we're going to drift away from it. So it's important to hold on to this. So what does it mean to drift away, and what must you pay the most, and why must you pay the most careful attention?
Well, not besides the literal meaning of drifting away. I feel one more thing to take note of is that, like, it's not, because drifting away it kind of means like you're moving away. But I think another way of drifting away is that you get distracted by something else. I think, like, an example I would use is that, like, there was a time where I believed that believed in, like, spirit highs, you know, like, you know, after a conference or youth camp, you know, you have a high that lasts only a few days and it dies down. And I thought that's a normal thing. But actually, well, what God revealed to me later was that actually they're not highs. It's actually, that's just a byproduct of being in his presence. And it dies down because we kind of we get distracted with other things in life. And so then God becomes a lower priority. So it's not necessarily like something that is just doomed to die down. It's just that we're just distracted. And I think that's why it's important to pay attention, to be like, hey, this is not something supposed to die down. You're supposed to be constantly have God's presence, like be bask in his presence the whole time. And that high should be, like, lasting forever. And I think it's that diligence and, like, stewardship of, like, saying, like, okay, that's his presence, I'm gonna do my best to stay there and not be distracted.
To me, it's something like, it's not a auto payment monthly subscription.
Exactly.
You need to proactively do something. It's like you need to actively keep the romance. Like, you have to think of new activities. You need to maintain friendships. Otherwise, if you don't initiate the gathering invites, then friendship's gonna drift away. And I'm also reminded of James. So, like, he warned us, like, if you heard the message but you do not take action, then you're deceiving yourself. Like, you're looking in the mirror, you saw something, but then you just ignore it.
It's like I like what you said. It's like, it's not something that you just achieve and they're like, yay, I achieved it, now I can just passively put that in the back of my head.
When I think about, like, drifting away, I oftentimes think about, like, being in the waters, right? If you've ever been on a boat, and that's, like, especially on a kayak, if you're not paying attention, you're just, like, sitting there, like, you know, and then you're just like, oh, how did I drift from that point to this point, right? Like, I also even think about, like, movies, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Open Water. But basically it's like people get left behind on a snorkeling trip, and basically they're just, apparently it's based on a true story, and, like, they're basically drifting away because they're gone, right? And so it's basically, you can get incredibly lost and your bearings completely lost if you drift away, and it happens when you don't pay attention. I think, like, sometimes, like, even on a boat, if you just don't pay attention, you can just go, like, way off course without realizing it. And so I think like let's talk a little bit about like attention for just a bit, because it says pay attention, right? And I know studies these days show that people now have the attention span of less than a goldfish, which is less than 8 seconds, potentially now 5 seconds. Also, I like to think that I think I do have a lack of attention span sometimes, because like I can basically watch like a video for like 3 seconds. All right, I'm bored. I'm the next one. It's like that's basically the world that we live. It's just da da da. So yeah, what do you think about it being like a spiritual discipline in a world of distractions?
I guess it's like a foreshadowing or a slight similarity to how you are willing to bear your own cross every day. So if you're, because when you're doom scrolling, I feel like I'm looking for excitement all the time. So I'm not willing to be patient or endure something, and that can translate to the bigger picture of like I don't want to endure for like bigger goals like health or spiritual health or for God. And so I just want every desire, every pleasure to happen.
I think we kind of like briefly mentioned in the last answer, but like I mean like just going more deeper into what we just said, that there's a diligence to it, you know. It's like, you know, you can go to school and you're not gonna learn automatically. You need to put in the effort to like study and revise, right, and learn. And I think that's the same thing with God, that, you know, you're in a relationship with Him, and maybe you already got your ticket to heaven, but you know there's so much more that you can learn about, but you gotta put in the effort in it. It's not something you just passively, like God just puts like a software update and all of a sudden you know something.
Like I don't know, I would think that like attention wouldn't necessarily be like a spiritual discipline back then. I mean, maybe like attention in a different way. Like they don't have technology, they don't have all these things to distract them from. Maybe they have other things to distract them from, like, you know, I guess different things going on. But like I don't think like the monastic brotherhood had like issues with attention, because they were like the ones that I told you how I was studying like Dead Sea Scrolls, right? I was studying about the group of people behind it, and they literally just they're like, okay, we don't want to be distracted from this corrupt, you know, Jewish audience, the Jewish like temple, because for them they thought that the priesthood in the temple was corrupt. So like, we're going to take all our stuff, we're going to go live in the desert, because, you know, when Isaiah said like, you know, prepare a way in the wilderness, they took that literally, like, we're gone, we're going there. And that's how they're like, you know, we're not going to be distracted, we're going to pay attention to the Lord. They truly believe that they're the faithful remnant, and basically they did everything in their, I guess, might and power to be like, all right, this is how we're going to live our lives, like set apart for the Lord. And I think for them, that I don't think attention was going to be a problem for them, because they were very intentional in focusing on Jesus. And I think attention definitely takes a lot on our part to be intentional, to set time aside. Like even sometimes when I'm praying, I'm also doing other things as well. And God's like, can you just be still for just a bit and just like be in my presence, just to hear from me? Like, can you just honor me with your attention instead of just being caught up with all the things? And I was like, yes, Lord, I'm so sorry. And I
was thinking maybe back in the day when they are praying, they could be thinking about the farming.
Oh yeah, true. Like, oh man, my donkey's in the pit. I need to pick it up, but it's the Sabbath. I can't touch it. Well, it's very true. Yeah. Very true, actually.
Like, I always wonder what they do in their free time. We have so many distractions. I wonder what they would do. But I guess thinking about the animals is one thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they, I don't know, found a ball of hay, kicked it around. That's how football came. I don't know. I mean, humans are creative, which is why we are where we're at today, right? Yeah. So, I mean, someone must have been really bored to create football, right? Someone must have been really bored to create, like, oh, let's see how fast we can run, and then make it like a track and field, and then now it's the Olympics, you know? So, man is creative. And I think sometimes God just wants to be like, all right, can you just focus on me for just a hot second? Don't drift away on all these things. Focus on me. So if you read actually Hebrews chapter 2 to 4, For since the message declared by angels proved to be reliable, and every transgression or disobedience received a just retribution, how shall we escape if we neglect such a great salvation? It was declared first by the Lord, and it was attested to us by those who heard, while God also bore witness by signs, wonders, and various miracles, and by gifts of the Holy Spirit distributed according to his will. So if we do drift away, there is a price to pay. That rhymes. Yes, a just retribution for every transgression or disobedience. So no thank you. But then the thing is, even though there was that, but then why were the readers tempted to drift back to the Old Testament law?
I think because it's their fear of death, like because they're flesh and blood, and so their mind, well, their soul may be willing, but their flesh is weak, and they also experience a lot of like hard struggles, sufferings, afflictions, and plundering of property, and so like when you encounter all these difficulty, I think it's very reasonable that we might just go back to the old ways, feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel in a similar way. I would say that, like, I think that they grew accustomed to the old ways, and so when Jesus comes in, like, kind of like, I saw this reel about, like, it's not really a good reel, but it was kind of like they were saying like how like the way Jesus came in, like from the Jews' point of view, like how Jesus came in is like saying like the Jews always said like, oh, this God's their boss, right? And all of a sudden, there's a new boss. There's a new guy who says, I'm the son of the boss, and I'm the new boss. But all the Jews are like, no, that's our boss. But then Jesus saying, and the reel kind of has like a sour twist. But then I'm not gonna talk about that. But the point being is that like that's kind of like how the Jews saw it. I feel that, you know, their whole life they dedicated to this one thing, and all of a sudden, hello, what's this? And so I think like that's why, yeah, I guess like sometimes maybe they just didn't like the sudden change, or changing.
I think, yeah, there are definitely aspects of that, like use the old ways of like sudden change, like, you know, like the the Israelites, they were very comfortable staying in Egypt because even though like there was freedom set before them, like, hey, we're gonna take you to promised land, like, but then Egypt was comfortable, I'm good, like, can I stay there? I mean, essentially also during that time, the Christians were being persecuted as well. So the bottom line is that they were, they were getting persecuted, and obviously being persecuted isn't going to be very fun, right? So what do? Basically, they go back to Judaism, because it's not illegal to be practicing Judaism, but it's illegal to be a Christian. Hence the whole like, well, I guess I don't want to deal with the persecution, so I'm gonna go back to my old ways. And again, like, we live in a society where it's not legal to be a Christian, and I know it's definitely different in other countries as well, where it's a challenge to be Christian, like, out loud. But I think in our context, I would say that, you know, sometimes we're just, you know, happy to just like, if we don't pay attention, we can just drift back to our old ways without knowing, without realizing that, oh, it's this bad habit I've picked up again. Oh, I've kind of been far from the Lord. I mean, you think that working in church is exempt from that? I don't think so. I think even more so we need to be on guard as well. So one thing that Pastor Ray talked about is backsliding, right? And it begins in the heart, turning away from God. Have there been moments where you guys have backslided? Also, this is a very Christian term, because I think I say this to a non-Christian person. It's like, what is backsliding, right? So, but yeah.
So for me, is I did this YWAM course. I did it right after high school. So when I came back from this missionary course, I went straight back into studies, and I think this kind of happened again because when I was younger, I was born into a Christian family, and so like faith was just, I would talk about it. But then in high school, you know, I was kind of focused on like my identity, friends, studies, and it just so happens again. Like, I had this huge like life-changing moment, but I still, when I went to like my studies, it happened again. Friends, identity, studies, and I think that's somewhere where I backslid in. And I don't know. I think the advice I'd say to avoid backsliding, well, the advice I'd give my younger self is that like two very Christianese things to say is that like, first, taste and see that the Lord is good, and second is don't forget your first love. Because I feel like when you really experience God and His love, I feel there's like no turning back. You know, like I make this joke with my dad because like me and my dad love to cook steaks, and the steaks we cook, well, it also works because we're cooking to our preference.
Yeah.
So now when we go outside, we're like, oh, I can't eat this steak. The steak is just not nice.
Right.
I feel like that when you realize how good something is, you can't undo that. Like that sets the new standard, and now that becomes like the reference for everything. And so I feel like, yeah, if you ever backslide, just remember how good it is, and is that worth giving up for? Yeah.
My biggest problem is lustfulness, and I think the deeper problem is loneliness and lack of meaning or like warmth in my life. So the black sliding part is used to, like, I guess, watch lots of porn and masturbation.
Yeah.
But then like what Pastor Ed said, there is the point where you could turn away from God and you'll never come back. And I'm grateful I wasn't there. And there are studies show when you watch too much, you will go deeper and deeper. You watch more intense and weird content. I'm also grateful I wasn't there. And but it's like what we talked about. It's like a comfortable old habit. If you can't have the real thing meaning like real intimacy, like real relationship, then I try to find like a cheap alternative somewhere to get that. But that's why. And I was thinking about, oh God, you have so high standard. Like thinking about a woman is already sin. And at that point, like in the backsliding period, I was thinking, no, I really can't achieve that. And everyone else is doing this, so why can't I do this?
I think like moments that I can think of like one moment I definitely was like going to backslide, and I think I've shared this before as well, was that one in college where I was church hopping, and to the point where I'm like, what's the point of being a Christian if I'm just like telling my parents like, oh, I'm going to church, so I'm going to church to tell my parents I'm going to church so that they will stop hounding me. And so now it's like, what's the point of being a Christian? And to that point, it felt like I've said the dirtiest thing I've ever said. Like, yes, I had a potty mouth before and I cursed, but that was worse than saying a curse word. It just felt like I just said something completely out of character. So, but I imagine like my life could have taken two ways, right? So the one way it went, which I'm thankful that it did, was like, I need to find a church, I need to settle, I needed to go for it. To find a community. I think that was most important. I think the one thing that helped me stay steadfast in my faith was a community. And also like spiritual disciplines, reading the word, journaling. I think journaling really helped to kind of like journal my prayers and process things with God. But my life could have gone another way where I'm like, what's the point of being Christian? Yeah, no point. And then it's kind of scary where there could be there's no turning back, and I could have been that person where there was no turning back, where it's beyond redemption. But I like to think that people are never beyond redemption. That's what I like to think, that God's grace is sufficient. But then I don't know how far is too far. Is it to the point where I kill someone, or I don't know, I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of scary that when we backslide too far, there is potentially a point of no return. And I don't think I ever want to get to that point. So I think to remain steadfast in our faith, study the word as what Pastor Ed said. Don't take Jesus lightly. And he said intellectual, emotional, and behavioral faith is needed if we wanted to persevere. And most importantly, your faith needs to grow. So I think something to think about is, don't go backwards, go forwards, and don't neglect our salvation as what those people did. So things to think about in moments when we want to like drift away and not pay attention. Let our faith be continual. All right, that's that for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you at our next grind. Bye.
Bye.